but this is a 26-year-old of that, of that established greatness. I think if they were ever going to do it, I mean, this is a Joe Mauer kind of signing. I don't think there's any question about that.
Another point to make on Harper, we do want to thank Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin, friend of ours, friend of the program, sponsors shows all across the program, and often appears on the Minnesota Sports Fan Unfiltered show with our friend Nick Henry. Again, they have a new Twitter handle I wanted to tell everybody about. It's Champlin. Let me make sure I get it right. It is Insure Champlin, INSURE. Champlin is in Champlin, Minnesota, because that's where Tony Hoaglund works out of.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoaglund. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number one in car insurance since World War II and number one in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
So the other point I wanted to make about, again, I trust Buster Olney. I trust what he's writing is sound. My only caution for Twins fans is that, they kind of made a show of saying, hey, we're in on Yu Darvish. We have a relationship with Yu Darvish. We want Yu Darvish. Well, there's nothing easier to do in baseball than finish second or perceived second in free agency. Because if you win the Yu Darvish sweepstakes, then you're paying hundreds of millions of dollars and you have to hope he gets healthy. If you don't win the Yu Darvish sweepstakes after announcing you're in them, you pay zero. There's not like some median price to be paid here. There's not an entry fee. If you finish second, finishing second is the same thing as not trying at all.
Well, that's really true, and I wonder how much mileage you really get anyway about saying that you were in it. I mean, you can get your fan base somewhat excited about the fact, but I mean.
But then they also might be disappointed if you don't get them.
The proof's in the pudding. Ultimately, I mean, either you wanted somebody or you don't, and so we'll see about this. I frankly would, I don't know if it's the right thing to do to go out and get Brian.
We both make that mistake because we both know Brian Harper, so it's an easy one.
So I don't know if it's the right thing to do or not to get Harper, but it sure would be fun. It would be really fun to have him in a Twins uniform. There's no question about it. And I don't know if it's the right thing to do, and I'm glad I'm not the GM trying to make that decision. I don't know if getting Kimbrel is the right thing to do, but I would do that one.
Yeah.
I just would do that. Looking at their club, they're projecting, based on what they've done in the offseason, people are projecting them, the over-under, as like 84.5 wins.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's where the odds makers are. Now, you put Kimbrel in, you put a lockdown closer in that mix, and that goes up 6 games. I think so. It would be really fun. This is fun to think about them doing something really splashy. We'll see if that happens, but it's fun to think about either guy.
Twitter question from General Soreness, our friend Lonnie.
I love that.
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it?
General Soreness. I'm going to change mine. I'm going to be lower body injury.
Lower body injury. I like it. By the way, our latest Russo show, Russo told us about a lower body injury that he was afraid was going to become an upper body injury, but because it was Russo, it was really no injury at all. He went to the hospital. He went to the hospital anyway, though. My favorite hypochondriac. I really don't know how he talks to hockey players. Oh, you're playing with your finger hanging off? Oh, yeah, well, I hurt my finger pulling my socks up yesterday. He actually did that. From General Soreness, Buxton has gotten off to horrible starts almost every season. What advice would Roy give him to avoid such a bad start out of the gate this year?
Oh, Lonnie, you're such a loyal listener and great baseball fan. I would appreciate your both of those things about you. It's been, I think, if not documented, at least, it has been documented because on this program I've talked an awful lot about what I think Byron Buxton should have been doing the last 2 years. And I would do, more of the same, which is set up to hit the ball to right center field.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. hitters want to hit. Let me back up. Quick answer to the question, bunt. Bunt once a game. Bunt a lot. But before you even get there, if you haven't done this all winter long, worked on becoming a great bunter, then do it in spring training. And do it a lot and bunt in games so that you get comfortable with it, and then break from the gate and bunt once a game. It's just so illuminating to see infielders have, all four of them, have their hair catch on fire when Byron Buxton hits a ball that bounces more than twice, and sometimes even just twice. And that is indicative of something meaningful, I think. So put their hair on fire as often as you can. One by bunting, the other is set up to hit the ball up the middle or to right center a little bit. You'll hit more ground balls that way, and you'll get some hits, and you'll put people and you'll be home to third on balls thrown down the right field line, and all those kinds of things. But here's the deal: hitters like to hit. Byron Buxton believes he can hit. He believes he's going to be a good major league hitter, and I don't think in his heart of hearts he wants to bunt. And he will have worked all year, probably. I don't know this, but probably all winter long. He's working with somebody and trying to get himself in position to deserve the center field. He doesn't have to earn center field. He just has to deserve it out of spring training. He can't hit $179. He's got to do okay in spring training. But he doesn't want to do that by bunting in spring training, and he doesn't want to start in April and bunt a lot. He wants to prove what a devastating hitter he is, as we all want him to do. But I still think that with that speed and with all of the aforementioned scenarios, be a really good bunter in case you need it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And you're the expert. I know from talking to hitters over the decades, I've had a lot of hitters and hitting coaches tell me, when you bunt, it tends to make you a better hitter. There's something about watching the ball all the way to the bat.
Ty Cobb said he used to bunt his way out of slumps.
Yep.
And you know what was interesting about that? Of course, that everybody thinks that means he was bunting in the games, 4 hits out of slump. But it wasn't just that. He would practice bunting. And that's what got him out of slumps, because it's kind of like in batting practice. Other great hitters will also tell you that the way to practice the way to take batting practice is to practice hitting the ball the opposite field, because it makes you watch the ball longer, and because by definition, in order to do that well, hit the ball the opposite field well, you have to get the big end of the bat on plane better. And when guys are in slumps, so often the bat dipping too far below the line of flight of the ball as part of your swing is the problem. And so getting back on plane a little bit by trying to hit the ball correctly to the opposite gap, let's say, even if it's just in practice, it's great practice. But bunting practice is great practice, because in order to be a good bunter, and this is another one of my pet peeves, because guys aren't good bunters. Almost without fail, on a 25-man roster, you got one guy that can bunt, even sacrifice with any degree of confident regularity, right? And Gene Mock taught me how to bunt when I was in high school. And he's, and he used to say guys would run their bottom hand up the bat a little bit, and they'd keep your hand behind the bat, so you're kind of pinching and bunt the ball, and try to bunt it either. I hear this all the time. You have to bunt this ball down the first base side or down the third base side. No, you don't. If you bunt it halfway to the pitcher, everybody say, you get the guy over. You don't have to be that fine. So you let and Mock told me, he said, grab the bat all the way around. Give your fingers exposed. It doesn't matter, because you're trying to catch the ball on the end of the bat. If you can imagine having a long finger glove, like a first baseman's glove, and the pitcher's throwing you the ball, and you want to catch it right out in the very tip of the webbing of the glove, you could do that. You could follow it in, and you wouldn't catch it toward the heel. You'd catch it out toward the end of the glove. Well, in like manner, you just hold the big end of the bat out there, and you just try to catch the ball on the end of the bat. When the ball hits the end of the bat, it deadens it. just enough where the ball goes out about midway to the pitcher, and nobody can do anything but throw you out at first, and everybody moves up. With Byron Buxton, if he deadens the ball anywhere in that circle from the third base line to the first base line, including back at the pitcher's hair is on fire, and he sometimes beats it out, and sometimes the ball goes down the right field line. So I got on this super rant here, and I apologize, but bunting practice helps your hitting. Bunting in games helps your hitting. And it's a tough thing to do up there at that level, and there's absolutely no downside in my mind for Byron Buxton doing a lot of bunting practice and in games. I just don't think there's any downside. I think he becomes a 300 hitter when he swings at the ball.
Yeah.
And the extra bunts will, it's just how high above 300 do you become?
The interesting thing about this franchise, when the subject is bunting, is late 80s, early 90s Twins teams, some of which you were a part of, were known as slugging teams. Great slugging teams. Deep lineups. People could hit the ball over the fence, hit a lot of doubles as well. And yet those guys were good bunters.
Yeah, we could all bunt. In 87, 87. But when I came back here to the Twins in 85, 86, and 87, of course, the one in 87, 85, and 86 weren't all that great. But those three teams that I was involved in, I don't have any other impression other than if we were asked to bunt, we got the guy over. I mean, I don't remember thinking, man, we're kind of a team that's not really professional. We can't really do our job. I mean, every big league hitter ought to be able to bunt. It's just it is not a skill that's impossible to learn. It takes next to nothing. It just takes some concentrated focus, effort on how do I do this? I see. I'm trying to catch the ball in the end of the bat. That's pretty easy. Yeah,
I mean, and these are people with incredible hand-eye coordination, right, and should have good bat awareness. They should be able to do it if they just want to do it.
If they just excuse me. If they just understand that that's, you may never be called on. You may be asked to bunt once, a season. Be able to do it that one time. Just be able to do it. It's because the manager thinks something is very important for a guy to move from the base he is to the next one. If you would just get a bunt down, the manager thinks that's really important. That's a manager's job. Your job is to be a professional player. Do all these things. You can do all these things.
That concludes the baseball portion of the show. Thanks for listening. I do want to. No, it was good stuff. But I just, now that we are in this, I'll politely call it a cold snap, so I don't cuss a lot. Now that we're in the depths of winter, the most frigid time of winter, I need some new ideas for screen time. Do you have a TV show or a movie you can recommend to get me through the dog days here?
Oh gosh, what a!
Because I and for context, while you think of it,
Well, I just watched The Big Lebowski last night.
Okay, you did. Okay, good.
Because I'm sitting at home, and my wife had made a really nice dinner, and we had a couple of glasses of wine, and I didn't really have anything else to do, and I just said, I'm reading I'm reading a series of books that you'll laugh when I tell you what it is, and I really like it. But I thought I'm going to take a break and just watch the dude, and it was just wonderful. Because I wanted to laugh out loud. And I've seen it, 15, 18 times, I don't know how many times, but I just laughing out loud. I mean, it's just the best.
What books are you reading right now?
I'm reading Roddy Doyle's Barrytown trilogy, The Commitments. It starts with The Commitments.
Oh, I love that movie.
Have you read the books?
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So good.
They're short little books. They're 280 pages each or something like that. But it's Dubliners, middle class, lower maybe middle class, working class, folks, family. And after The Commitments, which you saw the movie, Jimmy Rabit, who was their producer, their manager,
yep,
right? Okay, well now it shifts to the rest of his family, and basically the next two books are about his family and primarily his dad, or as they say in Ireland, his da. And it's hard to write dialogue.
Yes.
It's hard to write dialogue. It's one of the things that they said about Hemingway.